once again, I am back here at Fish Creek Park here in Calgary. There's just something about this place that I love. The colors are always so beautiful. There's always something new to find. There's, I, I, I want to say hundreds of trails. There probably isn't hundreds, but there are a lot of trails for such a big park that's inside a city. It's awesome. So today I've been walking around for about half an hour or so trying to find a nice composition for the sunset today. The weather is much nicer out today than it has been in the last few times I've been out here, so that's a bonus. It's about 10 degrees right now, so I can speak without my lips freezing and cracking, and that's always nice. I don't even need to see my breath. So today we got a nice composition here. If you look behind me, there's a few dead trees and then a nice kind of stump on the ground here that acts as a leading line into the composition. And then there's the kind of greenery back here, which is going to make a nice kind of mid-ground, and then we're going to get the sunset as it goes behind the horizon. It's a beautiful day here. I have great feelings about the shot today, and then once we're done, we're going to take it back to the studio and we're going to edit it. The settings for this shot right now are f8, ISO 100, and right now I'm at 1/8 of a second, but I've got a two-stop soft edge filter on there just to take out some of the brightness in the sky and balance out the foreground colors a bit. But yeah, it's a pretty simple shot. It'll probably go up to about a second once the sun goes down to get some of the color back. But yeah, it's going to be a really simple, nice composition. Then we'll take it back to the studio and edit it. So we'll see you back at the studio when we bring it into Lightroom. Okay, so I've been shooting here for almost half an hour, just continually shooting. I've tried a couple of different camera positions. Like you can see right now, my camera's really low to the ground. Got it almost right in the grass here. It's just been absolutely beautiful. This is probably one of the most beautiful sunsets I've ever seen in my life, or at least in Calgary. So I am extremely happy with everything we got here. I probably took easily 60 or 70 shots, maybe even more, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's just, I wanted to make sure that no matter what happens, I have something good to use with. So yeah, I think I'm gonna pack up here. It's getting a little chilly out now that the sun's gone. So my hands are starting to get a little cold, and yeah, head back to the car, warm them up, and then we'll head back to the studio sometime in the next couple days to start editing. So I am extremely excited to see what we got. We'll see you back at the studio. All right, we are back with what might be one of my favorite photos that I've ever taken. Once the sun had gone down, I basically ran back to my car because I was so excited to get home and start looking at the shots that I got. And so what you can see on your screen is kind of the final product of what we ended up with. And I'm just so happy that it worked out so well. As I mentioned when I was on location, Fish Creek is one of my favorite places to walk around and shoot. For this one, I definitely went off trail, and it's weird because I've actually walked right past this location many times and never noticed it. One of the things that I'm discovering is that you have to be willing to explore in landscape photography. I've had a very hard time in my life getting off the beaten path, and this is a perfect example of just taking a few steps off the pavement. You can find these beautiful compositions. It's nice and simple. There's a lot going on, but it's a pretty simple idea. And there isn't any right way to explore. There's nothing specific that you can look for. You basically just have to get off the path and do it. Now, this is what we hope to end up with, and this is the original. So basically there's not a lot of editing that's needed to make this shot perfect. As you can see in the loop up top here, the final settings were f8, ISO 100 at 1 second, just about what I thought it would be at 12 millimeter. And that's including the two-step soft edge. As you can probably tell, I intentionally underexposed the foreground so that we could retain as much color detail in that sky that was just absolutely exploding. Even just now, I mean, you can tell there's not a whole lot of color change in the sky, and that's a pretty accurate representation of what I could see with my own two eyes. So yeah, let's get to it. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is fixing the underexposed foreground. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull down the highlights and we're going to bring up the shadows all the way. It looks pretty awful right now, but we're going to fix that in a second here. So it's a little under contrast, actually quite a bit under. So we're going to bring that up quite a bit. Let's do about 70. Okay. And then I want to bring up the exposure just a little bit. We'll do maybe +2 or 0.2 or so. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, and then the next thing I'd want to do, like usual, is deal with the sky and the foreground here separately, so that we can split off the exposures and colors and stuff. So the top half, obviously, there's not a whole lot that we have to do. We can just reset this to 0 and reset all these settings. All right, so I deleted that one by accident, so let's put a new one in here. Okay, so we want to add about a half a stop of exposure. So 0.5, that's good. And I'm noticing the color is fairly yellow, so we're gonna bring down the temperature, maybe just up to maybe like -9 or -10 here. And then we're going to take the tint. I want to make it a little more pink. Oh, wait a minute. That's good. All right. Now, the bottom half is going to be quite a bit different. We're going to add a bunch of adjustments here to make it really pop. So we'll leave the exposure as it is for now, and we're going to reset the temperature and tint. So we're going to add a lot of contrast. So let's go to 46. That looks good. And then shadows, we're going to bring up the shadows a lot. Maybe 65. Still getting used to this tablet. Sure, 61 works. And then the one thing that I really think this could use is I really like the log looks very, very pink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down the temperature quite a bit. So we're going to bring that down maybe to 40. Yeah, 48. That's a little too blue. Sure, 41. And then the tint, same thing, to balance it out so it's not so blue. All right, that looks better. So now we got a nice and neutral log here, which is much more how it looked. And then the one thing I really liked is adding basically 100 clarity to really bring out make that log pop. So we're just going to leave that right at 100. Okay, so we can close. Maybe stretch that out a bit and move that down just a touch. And then we're going to split off. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. So we can close out of the graduated filters here. And now I do want to add a little bit of global clarity just to kind of give a little more contrast to the rest of the edges around the image, although that didn't make the log pop just a little too much. So we're going to go back in there and maybe bring that down to yeah, 50 looks good. Okay. And then we're going to add some vibrance. So we'll do that maybe about 25 to 30. Let's split the difference and go 27. Sure. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the color. as far as the rest of the editing, we're just going to add some sharpening. So for the masking, as always, Alt or Option and hover over the masking so we know it says reset sharpening, and then we're going to drag it over until, yeah, it's pretty much the only edges we're worried about. So we can let go, maybe put it back to about 70 there. Okay. And we're going to turn up the sharpening here to about 70, sure, 76 looks good. And then the one thing I did notice, if we zoom in on some of the dark, you can see that there's some issues with some noise. So we're going to do a little bit of noise reduction here. Just maybe, yeah, 17 is probably okay. And we'll let that render. Okay, yeah, that's better. And then we can close that tab, go to the lens corrections. Now, this is one thing that I really noticed along the edges of this branch here is there's some chromatic aberration here. So we're going to bring this up to about 2, let's say, and then we're going to stretch the gradient of the purple hue so that it encompasses this bit of this tone of pink that's around here, you can see. So we're going to bring that all the way up to 100 to hopefully clear out. Yeah, there, that's perfect. About as good as we're going to get anyways. And then we can go to the effects tab, and we're just going to add a little bit of a vignette. We don't need anything too crazy, just like a -9. Don't want it to be overly obvious, but just enough that it kind of brings the viewer's eye right into the center of this photo where the sun is blowing through these evergreen trees here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Get rid of the loop view there, and this is a pretty good final product. I'd be very happy to print this, and I probably will. We've been experimenting with some different print options with canvas and some metal print options from one of our printing suppliers. So we'll see how those look in the next couple weeks when they show up. But I am very happy with this shot. It's got so much beautiful color. It's just very, what I would consider compelling. You've got the log here is the nice leading line. You know, it's just a really, I'm very, very happy with this photo. So what do you think? Do you think it's a good photo, a bad photo? Give it a thumbs up if you think it's great. If you think it's shit, feel free to thumbs down. If there are things you would have done differently, I'd love to know what you think in the comments. And if you haven't, please subscribe to this channel or share this video with your friends. I take all constructive criticism very, very happily. I'd love to know what you think. So yeah, this has been another episode of I Am Not a Good Photographer. And until next time, bye for now.